Why this idea, this concept, your concept for this show, the first point, and secondly, more specifically about your own work in this show, the mural and the table with all your work.
Okay. See, basically when I was looking at the background of the Indian art history, and especially the pre-independent before 1947 and after 47, I was wondering what happened. I mean, suddenly the whole idea of Bengali school, the lyrical images and the conscious images of the societies and many things, which is not just lyrical images, they all disappeared and people started looking at the Paris capital. And of course, Paris was then the cultural capital, and French government was so generous to give them a scholarship, everything, and Indian artists started working and staying and studying in the Paris. At the same time, it was not a very easy journey for them because they find it is not the way they can be successful or whatever. And also then later phase they started looking at the Indian essence or the basic root of Indianity, or whatever you call the tradition of India, like meditative quality, the spiritual aspects, the theosophies, the relation with the folks and legend and oral history, many things, which is very different than Western idea of modernism, because Western idea of modernism especially relate with the two things. One is the industrialization, the other is the urbanization. And industrialization, what we have in India, it's not the way the West has. And number two, the urbanization, concept of urbanization even is very different in the India, because it is starting from the Harappan civilization, it has got Chola dynasty, it has got a Hampi, there are many things. So we can't compare that whole urbanization concept with the Western thought. So is it really the term we should use as a modern art or modernism in India during the post-independent era? Or it is just a time we can consider and we can research about it? It is a drop in an ocean, it is a small effort. While I was walking on the Tagore and Swami Vivekananda and Nandalal and Bengali school, then I thought this is something very important. I think one should find out as a practicing artist, because as a practicing artist, it is important to connect with the artistry and the past. Because most of the time what happened, the one side is a critic, one side is artistry, one side is academic, one side is a practical artist who is working. It doesn't match together, it doesn't come in the same table perhaps. So it is my idea to bring them in the same platform to make it communicable and make it easy to accessible. And that is one reason, apart from the show, the visuals, the artwork, the artists, of course it is not everybody is included, everybody becomes access, everybody will have the work, but we have chosen less exposed and also the work which is not shown before, even like the Zarina's first work, Akbar Padamsi's sculpture, film by Norway, it is not known to many of us, and Jean Vonagri produced the documentary. And also as an artist, I think my part is to always make a bridge with this past and present. So as a practicing artist, if we can't make the bridge, then we can't access the future, even we can't think about the future. And that is one reason I think as a curator and as an artist, I have to play both the role. And the curatorial aspect is as that, okay, this is something one need to explore. This is the way, and one cannot ignore the oral tradition, one cannot ignore the legend, one cannot ignore the political and economical layers of the India, because India is a very complex country. It has a many language, many caste and many level of communities, and they have accessibility with the art and culture. And it is not possible just to define the modernism with some number of artists who stays in Delhi and Bombay. It has to go beyond of that. It has to go beyond of the trained artists, so-called artists, what we have trained in the art college, because we have many traditional artists and folk artists. They work and they are very conscious socially. They are very powerful, like Kalighat painting even, which is a very, very urban concept. And also if we consider that the tribal painting from the Gonda artists, I should not use the tribal, because tribal is a very bad word rather. I think it's people who live there, that is what we can say. But I think it should be edited, and I should not use this term. But yes, these are the artists, and they have done excellent work. And I think Indian art, pre-independent and post-independent era, we should include all of them, and it should be a bigger project in future, and it should come out as a whole panoramic view of the idea of the pre and post independent, because Bengali school even much misunderstood area, because people say it's a narrow nationalism, people say it's a too much of nationalistic approach, but it was not. Look at the Abanindranath's cartoon, look at the Abanindranath's mask series, look at the Abanindranath's Kudur Jatra, all these things. It is amazing work, it is a totally political work. One cannot say it's just a lady sitting under the tree, they have made it. As an artist, what I made, there is a large mural I made, it's a drawing I made, especially this is a whole process of excavation. I'm interested about the excavation and archive and ethnographic and archaeological process, because that's how the history begins and that's how the history evolved. So this is a work which is resonating the whole idea of the Indus Valley civilization, the site of the Harappan imagery from the John Marshall book or Cunningham's book, you know. So once you are standing in front of the drawing, you feel that you are in an archaeological site, or you are just part of the whole archaeological excavation process, because I'm not making any final statement through the show. It is a kind of a process. I'm just opening the door for the researcher to further go on. Did it make sense?
It makes sense. Do you speak always so fast?
We can make it slow in digital.
No, it's very good. No, you can change the speed of the sound. You know, it's very good, excellent. And what we feel, in fact, is you are passionate and you really believe in what you say, which is extremely, extremely pertinent. You know, that I was expecting that, and it's perfect.
Thank you, because.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you speak more in detail about the other part of your work, you know, the drawings, things like that?
Yes, the drawings, you see, the drawings was there, as I said, is a part of the whole archaeological site, and the photograph, series of photographs, which is part of the show, one can see it is a different landscape, it is a different objects emerging. Nobody had a clue what it is exactly, but you know, the background of these photographs is a Indian art history or Indian art and crafts book, which is lying with my friend in London, and the book destroyed and partly destroyed and damaged during the Second World War bombing, and see, he bought it from a flea market or somewhere else. So I thought, okay, let's begin with this new story to re-photographing that thing, because these days everybody is photographer, but re-photographing the archive, re-photographing the documentation is something very important and interesting for me with the current and latest technology. And the other side, the third part, is my artist books and my books on Tagore's architecture. These artist books are a unique piece of art, and which is a kind of a personal journey all the time with my personal archive, because that comprises the whole body of my research, because my works is a concept, idea of a collage. It's like a history, archive, and my own art practice. And collage is a multi-layered thing, and that's the reason I make artist book. Wish I could be a filmmaker, but it isn't possible some point. But artist book, I find it's another version of a filming. So one can just go in a different layers, and always I prefer people should touch it in a naked hand, not with the gloves, so they can have a whole feeling of the pages and the spaces and the journeys and the different aspects of the imagery. And that's how the whole thing kind of make a one body. It is not a single piece of artwork, different piece of artwork. It is not a many pieces. It's just a single piece, I would say, because that makes the whole thing complete about my statement.
When you organized this show, you know, what was exactly the division of the part of your work between Sumesh and you? Were you working together as a tandem, you know, or did you have separate ideas, and how it worked?
See, both we have a very interesting and common ideas. One point, we don't have much difference. You see, Sumesh and me, we started having dialogue that why the Indian art should be with a kind of a hierarchy, because we should break the hierarchy. There should not be any hierarchy on that. Like the trained artist, the folk artist, tribal artist, why this term? There is no point to use it. I mean, we don't speak about the lower caste, we don't speak about the life and art. I mean, the way they have been derived, their whole form of art, I think some point we should speak about that. And also, we should bring out how the visual vocabulary developed. Because it is artistic ego. We say, oh, we have created it, but it is not possible. It is coming through the oral history, it is coming through the legend, it is coming through the whole ethnographical development. So in this show, when I was conceiving the whole idea of the project and I discussed with Shumesh and this fellowship came out, and Shumesh said, definitely I would be very happy to, as a research curator or research assistant, something associate with you. I said, you're most welcome, because it's a teamwork and we need to work as a team only, because I'm not the only person who can sort out and we can make a statement. It is a team of them. In the way he did find out Zarina's print and many things, it is quite interesting. And I also went to the Mark Vaux archive, Zarkin's museum. Always I was wondering how these Indian modernists, they do sculpture from a single block and they cut out, how it has happened, how they eventually evolved. Then once I saw the Zarkin's work, I said, oh, here it is. So, those things are quite interesting, and we had a common dialogue. And yes, we developed it, and also we kept some young artists. They're also inspired through this modern master, and they're keeping their dialogue alive. So we want to make a whole trail of the idea of post-independent. And I am not very sure till today whether we should use the term modernism in Indian art, the Indian modern art, or not, because that, I think, term itself works with the time to time, everything modern, everything contemporary. And that is what the theosophists and the philosophers were. Even Oringer said that how the time and space create the contemporary approach and the modernism. So I think those area one should be very careful when we use the terminology, because in Indian context, using terminology would be very different than the Western world.
You were saying that this exhibition, you want to make it bigger in India?
I have a plan. Let's see. I don't know. I was speaking to a few people. They quite liked the idea. And the artists I could not include. I could not look at it like Vishnathan was here today even. Maybe 40s, 50s and 60s work. Maybe later on some people, they didn't continue very good, like Anju Chaudhary even. I have not met her. I have seen few of her work, the old work. But it would be interesting, like Jogain's print I got much later, because I was asking Jogain, okay, what are the prints you have done in Hater Studio? Even Deepak Banerjee, day before yesterday I went to the Counterpoint that we are 17 and I saw many Deepak Banerjee's amazing work he did over here. So yeah, it will be interesting, because after 1947, I think the Paris capital, the French master has a major influence in the Indian art. Major influence. It's just, for me, it's perhaps 90-95% occupied by French master, 5 to 10% perhaps the British master like Francis Bacon or Henry Moore and all, like Chintamani Kaur, Vikas Bhattacharya. They are all influenced by the British master perhaps, but mostly it is the French master. Even Shailoj, I could not bring Shailoj. Even I'm curating and research Shailoj show, which is on in the Domimal Art Gallery in New Delhi. And they got a fantastic 55 works of Shailoj Mukherjee, and Shailoj was a great artist, a national treasure, and he was also inspired from the French master. And I put together again the research material, who are the artists he was very much influenced. Of course, again he find out his own way. And till today, these terms Indianity and Indian art is a very exotic way come to us, but I must say, people like Nirod Majumdar, people like Krishna, people like Vonaguri, Akbar, they never want to become an Indian artist rather than an artist in the larger perspective and a global map.
Do you want to add something else?
No, I think that's all. Yeah, and of course, one should look at the material, the archive. I think that's more important, because we should not ignore any published text. We should not ignore the oral history, legends and conversation, because that creates the man-made history. So man-made history is not just the final. So many things should come out. I prepared small 4 files, but they are quite big in that sense, and there are a lot of research material. I think one point it should come out altogether as a form of a book, and it should open up a new way for the Indian researcher and the young generation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noah, for your time and everything. I think it's wonderful to speak to you. Thank you.
Okay. Because in fact, what I filmed from Samit, it was totally different. Samit was just explaining the different works of the different artists. You know, but he didn't go at all in the concept as you did. So it's going to be very, very complementary. You know, and what I'm going to do when for the timing, I don't have the time to edit it, but I'm going to edit it because I have to finish the editing on my film on Yoga and Chaudhary, because I go in India in January and February, and he has got a show at the NGMA, you know, Delhi in Mumbai, and the film has to be ready for that. So, you know, I'm concerned. But I'm going to edit this one also, but later on, anyway. And you and Samit, you will have a copy. And the way I think I'm going to edit it is as I film all the works, you know, I will go, you know, on all the works with a short, you know, because short explanation of Sumesh and things like that, and with, you know, the intercut with you, most everything you said, your 15 minutes, on the different concept.
Thank you. No, this is what I want to develop through the exhibition, because I find when I was working with the Tagore, became a kind of a chronology for me, because when I came to Delhi, I find the whole artistic discourse, it is happening in the Western perspective. So what was we had? Then I looked at the Tagore and the Bengali school and Shantiniketan and all. Then I was wondering how come these 4 persons coming to the Tagore house and speaking about Indian art. Ananda Kumaraswamy, E.V. Hagel, Okakura, Kakuzo, and Sister Nivedita, Margaret Noble. Then I found the person behind is Swami Vivekananda. Then I did a work on resonance of Swami Vivekananda and art of Nandalal Ghosh, because he was the person who took it forward. And of course, we never speak about the Theosophist role in Indian art, post-Indian art. It's a very important area.
Very
and then I find what happened, how this imagery was developing after 47, what was the strange thing happening, and how it is developed. Then I find, oh, it's a Paris capital, and some point it is a British in London or whatever. So that brought me to do these studies actually. Yeah.